maximum thrill power into the roller coaster of tomorrow. Strap on a helmet cam, grab a team of scientists, and go for a ride and see what exactly pushes your buttons. That's what the world's only thrill engineer, Brendan Walker, is doing. He joins us to talk about his latest study called the Oblivion Thrill Laboratory. So Brendan, tell me about the study. How are you doing it?
We've taken 80 seasoned riders, and we're putting them through a series of psychological and physiological tests. And the idea is to try and get an understanding of the psychological makeup of these riders, so by conducting various tests, such as personality tests, and undergoing another test which is called the sensation-seeking scale test, and trying to compare that to the physiological measurements that we're actually collecting from riders as they go around on the ride. So capturing heart rate levels, using videos to monitor facial expressions, and also capturing galvanic skin response of the riders on the ride, which is a good indicator of levels of arousal.
Now, Brendan, you say you've been working with seasoned riders, but when you do those measurements on the ride, do you get dramatically different responses from different people?
Yes, and in fact, when I say seasoned riders, we did actually have one rider virgin with us, which formed a kind of comparative data set. Our rider virgin did exhibit high levels of stress as he went on, and I think looked like he was regretting it as he was going along the ride. But after the first massive drop on the ride, he started shouting that he wanted to go again, and it was the most marvellous thing he'd ever done in his life. So I think for him, that extreme experience, doing it for the first time, because he'd actually never even ridden on any roller coaster before, I think was a testament to roller coasters as extreme thrilling entertainment.
Did you also have people who hardly reacted at all to the ride?
Yes, we had a series of riders who'd probably ridden this particular ride around 250 times, and
wow.
We noticed that they'd sort of formed this sort of response that was almost, I wouldn't say flatlining, but as far as an arousal response, it was fairly tame. And they'd become sort of habituated to the ride experience, though they reported feeling high levels of pleasure. And of course, thrill can be classified by two dimensions. If we can reliably record levels of pleasure, which we're actually doing by using the video to monitor the facial expressions, and also their levels of arousal, which we're using the heart rate monitor and the galvanic skin response. It's actually those two factors together, the arousal coupled with pleasure, which generate thrill. So for them, the thrill of the ride was mainly coming from their sort of the pleasure of the experience itself.
Yeah. So what do you, when you take all of this data from the riders and then you put it together with the paperwork that you mentioned, what are you trying to get at? What are you trying to figure out?
Different riders having different psychological makeups react very differently in these extreme situations. So, for example, if we find a rider that scores very highly as a sensation seeker, then they will probably find the same experience rather tame in comparison to somebody who scored a lot lower as a sensation seeker.
Now, how does that, in the future, Brendan, how will that help you design more, I guess, more thrilling roller coaster rides for everybody?
I mean, my personal goal, in fact the goal of Thrill Laboratory, is to design rides in the future that can possibly adapt to riders automatically. So at the moment we're in real time measuring traits such as levels of pleasure and arousal. But if a ride, say for example, were felt to be too extreme for a particular rider, then we could probably start taming it a little bit. So for example, take a very simple example of the speed of a certain ride. We could probably make it go a little bit slower, or for a rider who is finding it a rather tame ride, again, we could probably turn the speed up. I mean, that's just a very simple example, but by being able to control the ride features and coupling that with the physiological traits that we're actually sensing, we can actually make these kind of rides in the future, and hopefully in the not too distant future.
Well, if that's the case, you don't want to be paired with somebody who really wants an extreme thrill if you don't.
That is one of our largest problems, I think. When you have a group of riders who are experiencing as a collective of people on the same ride, then of course you have to take some sort of normal measure, and there is, you're quite right, you wouldn't want to be riding with somebody who's a high sensation seeker.
No. Thanks a lot for telling us about it.
Brilliant.
Brendan Walker is a former aeronautical engineer. He's the world's only thrill engineer. Join me today from London, England.